Well, the main event, speaking of absurdity, was old Kyle Felcher and our friend Takeshita going up against Ricochet and a mystery partner. And the heels entered, and then here came Ricochet, and he had a microphone with him. I'm like, oh no. And by the way, Ricochet was introduced at 208 pounds. So remember when I said they could give these guys 10 or 15 pounds when some of the guys they introduced at 188, they could easily do, 199 to whatever, right? But now they're trying, but that's a big exaggeration, isn't it? Isn't it?
Again, compared to other people on the show like Orange Cassidy or Adam Cole, I guess Ricochet may be a little bit taller and he's lean and he's in shape, but
I think Pockets is taller than Rockefeller Ricochet.
I mean,
nevertheless,
when you saw him standing next to MVP and the Hurt Syndicate early in the show, it stood out just how, compared to them, he's a little guy, but in the world of AEW against a Will Ospreay, he doesn't look like it.
It looked like they were taking a fan fest picture.
Who's this funny-looking guy in the suit?
Yeah, well, at least he dressed up to come see us. But anyway, Ricochet cuts the promo, said he's done research, and as of October the 4th, a guy's contract with Don Fallis's family has expired. And this guy is mad and pissed off because he feels forgotten about. And he introduced Powerhouse Hobbs. This is how they brought Hobbs back. They brought him back with the hot angle that he's so worthless, his own manager forgot about him. No thought, no plot, no plan, no carefully laid out. We're going to bring this guy back as a fucking monster single with a grudge against the world or something for his injury. No footage of how he was injured before or his rehabilitation he's been undergoing. No impact that he can make when he suddenly comes out and turns the tide in a major way. And fucking, they just bring him out. And by the way, wasn't he still a heel? He was still, I know the Fallis family, their babyface, their heels, depending on what match they make week to week. But Hobbs was a heel. He goes away. Nobody's even mentioned his name in fucking months. And then he just comes back and he's a babyface because his manager forgot about him because he was that important. Was this the way to bring back a guy that looks this good and has this much potential?
No, I don't think so. I've always been a fan of Hobbs, too, and I was happy to see him back, but it had to be a better way to do it.
And maybe that's a card that MVP needs to hand out.
You know?
Because then, well, the whole rest of the fucking roster could just say, fuck it, we're going home with those three guys, and the manager can whip half of the fucking roster, even in a working way, much less as a shoot.
Imagine how much he would learn in a car with them going town to town or to the building once a week.
What? I was about to go in town to town. Going 10 minutes from the hotel to the arena. But anyway, so they have a tag team match, and it starts out with a big four-way all over the floor. And then they did a spot where Ricochet stood up on Hobbs' shoulders and backflipped off of him over the top rope onto both heels on the floor. And Hobbs looked tremendous. And actually, again, all of these guys, Felcher's trying, and he's got the size, and he's athletic, and our boy Take, we've said before, they could have done something many of times.
Do you think Fletcher looked a little bit too much like Randy Orton in there?
At this point, anybody on that roster that can look like Randy Orton needs to.
It seemed like they changed his look to look like Randy Orton of like 2005. It was weird. I saw a couple of people mention it. I was like, good, it's not just me. That's an interesting way to come up with a new look for him. Someone else's look.
But that's the thing is that and Ricochet, I know he appeals and his style appeals to the fans of the people who like this kind of thing. But again, you've got Hobbs as a monster, and he's in this 20-minute long match where they're just taking all kinds of false finishes. And you, again, you could push almost any one of these guys individually, but it's just, it was names written down to have a match, and they had a match with every kind of fucking. I wrote at one point, what is going on? Ricochet hit a shooting star press, got a 2 count, and got up and hit a clothesline that was about a tenth as impressive as the shooting star press, and then 1, 2, 3. Ricochet beat, can't remember which one. Hobbs didn't even get the win. And then Kyle takes a chair to Hobbs, and then he's going to hit Ricochet because he's behind Ricochet, but Ricochet turned around and saw him coming at him with the chair and turned back around and fed him his back so he could hit him in the back with a chair. And Nigel even had to try to cover it, but, well, he didn't want to get hit in the face. The fuck? And then they play music, and Mark Davis comes out wearing.
You thought he looked like a bum last week.
Goddamn, did he steal this shit out of a Salvation Army drop box? And was it a bandage he was wearing, or was he wearing dress shoes with only one sock? And the other ankle was bare, and then it looked like he had some kind of sweat clothes on. And he's shoving Fletcher, and Archer and Cage come in, and they beat up Davis, but Adam Cole comes out with 3 seconds of music and tackles Takeshita, and they fight off. In like 20 seconds, they're gone, so the heels are holding Davis, who nobody gives a shit about because they didn't remember who he was last week. And they're going to stab him with a screwdriver. When Ospreay comes in and tackles him, and it barely really does anything before Hobbs is up and the heels bail, and the end, it was over.
So Ospreay was there the whole night, and one of the top baby faces that you're pushing as a company who hasn't been on the show in weeks wasn't on the show all night, and then he runs out there dressed as casual as he ever has.
And it obviously took a little bit to piss him off. You know, he's got an even temper because he waded through every kind of attempted murder in the world before finally, that's all I can stand. When they go to stab somebody with a screwdriver, I got to come out here. It just from top to bottom of this show, there's no way to even differentiate it. It's just different people doing the same shit over and over and over.
There's lots of heel gangs.
Well, you got Johnny and the Fat Boys. What was
Johnny and the Good Boys?
Johnny and the Good Boys.
It works. It works.
From up there in Newport. Well, anyway, that was the main event.
And that was AEW Dynamite, another banner episode. I will say, the product's awful, but it is getting funnier and funnier every week.
You have to find something to laugh at this point to keep from crying.
Do you think it's an intentional thing with Marvez? Like it's an intentional, I'll be a really bad actor? Because when you think of the amount of things, like the Will Ospreay segment in the garage at the hotel, we've seen enough examples that's so awful. You would almost have to make an effort.
No, I think he's genuinely trying to do what he thinks is acting. And some people, you can't be on television. And there's nothing you can really do about it.